Hi, my name's Ebony and these are my bookshelves and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking through my mid-year reading wrap-up slash freakout book tag. So let's strap on in and talk some spooky books. So the first question is, how has your reading been so far this year? And to be quite frank with you, it has been slow but steady. I am someone who likes to set myself a reading goal, and I put it at 52 books this year, so like 4 a month, give or take. And obviously there are times where you read more or less of that. But my main goal after last year was just to read books that I wanted to read and to be more consistent in my reading. And so I have read a total of 20 books thus far. A little bit behind, but it's all right. It's it's literally no pressure. It's only me pressuring myself. Like I said, my goal is just to read good books and not to read anything I don't want to read. Simple as. I'm just going to quickly talk through a few of my stats here. Don't mind me, I'm just looking at my notes. So, like I said, I've read 20 books in total, and that's 6,088 pages and 27.22 listening hours on audiobooks. Average time to finish a book was 10 days, which feels about right. There were definitely some books that took me a lot longer. Moods is a good mix of dark, mysterious, and tense. Goes without saying. And I have a bit of a dark sense of humor, so there are definitely times that I find things funny in horror and thrillers. There is a little bit mix of funny and adventurous, emotional, and one hopeful. Not sure what that is. Fast paced, 72%, medium, 28%, no slow books, surprisingly. Page number, there's actually only 28% of these have been under 300. Majority are between 300 and 500 pages. My favorites to look at, obviously, like, it's a mix of genres. Even like a horror book can still be categorized under thriller or mystery. So in total it's 16 thrillers, but then you can see mystery and horror are quick to follow that. Format is a pretty even split, 50% print, because I have been trying to read more of my physical TBR behind me, but it's also still like my Kindle is there, and 40% of what I've read this year has been on my Kindle, and then 10% on audio. Most read authors. I am actually someone who loves a standalone, so I don't repeat books by authors very often. So I've only read 2 of each by these authors. So Jennifer Hillier, Lucinda Berry, S.T. Ashman, and Frida McFadden. I haven't read a Frida book since the start of the year. I think The Teacher was the last one I read, and then I, bowed out. But Jennifer Hillier, Lucinda Berry, and S.T. Ashman, I definitely would like to read more of. Last one here is the star ratings, averaging 3.71 stars. Love to see that go up, but to be honest, it kind of sums up the year. Average. I've only had 1 5-star read out of the lot so far, so I would love my second half of the year to find at least one more. At least. So those are some stats. I hope you enjoyed that. I do love Storygraph and I love to look at it every month. Next question is the best book of 2025 so far. It is Last Days of Jack Sparks by Jason Arnott. This book is so good. The writing is so addictive. It's unputdownable. I absolutely devoured this in one sitting. Like, I picked it up one random Saturday and literally didn't move until I found out what the bloody hell happened to this character. Basically, all you need to know is that Jack Sparks is this controversial journalist character. He's an ardent atheist and he writes lots of books based on the occult or whatever. And he's researching his newest book called Jack Sparks on the Supernatural. And in the process of researching and writing this, he dies. And no one knew what happened to him in the days leading up to his demise until now, when his brother is releasing the manuscript of his brother's book and research. But how it starts is like Jack Sparks is going to this church in Italy, already a fantastic setting, and he's going to bear witness to an exorcism of a 13-year-old girl. And while he's there, he's literally laughing out loud. He's mocking it. He's sitting there like, oh, yeah, these guys are all actors. They were hired because they knew I was coming. You know, he jumps on his Twitter on his phone while he's at the exorcism and mocks it. And then from there, nothing is ever the same again for this guy. When he heads to the airport, his Twitter is going off and everyone's sending him this link to this video. So he clicks on it and he watches it. It's this 40-second eerie clip of like this dank, like dungeon-esque kind of looking thing. And he gets obsessed with it. He's watching it and he realizes it's come from his YouTube channel, but he didn't create it and he didn't upload it. And then it disappears. So he becomes obsessed. He's trying to figure out what the hell this clip is, but he's also trying to research his book. So he travels around the world. We meet quite a cast of characters, a lot in here to enjoy, a lot of characters that I loved. Chapters where the brother, like after Jack has visited them, the brother in the current time is interviewing them again, trying to get their point of view on the events that occurred with them. and it spins things on its head, and like you start questioning if you're the one going insane and not Jack. So it's really, really fun. I thought the ending was perfect for this character. It's exactly what he deserved. It's so creepy. It all comes together perfectly, and I can't really say much else about it, but it's so good. There's also a lot of wit and humor laced in the writing. I love humor in my horror, and I love it when it comes from a character you shouldn't like. And that's what Jack is, you know. There's also quite a few gory body horror scenes. If you're not opposed to that, that's in there too. So there's literally something for everyone. It ticks all the boxes for me. It's got a skeptic going after the supernatural, haunted media, the video, and a mystery at the core of it of what bloody happened to this guy. So 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think you will too, if it sounds like your kind of thing. From there is the worst book I've read so far this year. And unfortunately, I have 2 to talk about with you. The first one being Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano. This is based on Clifford Island, a place that time seemingly forgot. All the residents are reliving the same day in 1994 over and over again, like watching O.J. Simpson's car chase on repeat, like music, clothing, everything is from 1994. And a woman goes there trying to find answers after her young son's death, and then she ups and disappears. And her brother's retracing her steps, trying to find her in the present day. There's like mixed media, so we've got some chapters that are text message exchanges between one of the teenage residents and her boyfriend on the mainland, and those were really fun, very fast paced, and I liked her because she's like one of the few characters who had her fucking head screwed on right. I mean, is trying to get off this island and find answers. And then you have diary entries of the woman who went missing from like when she arrived on the island right up until the day she goes, and then the brother in current time. The execution fell flat for me. Hated Pastor Rita, that character. She didn't get the comeuppance she deserved, and I thought the ending was bland and uninspired. It felt like Jimmy's ideas didn't quite make it from his head to the page, and we were left to fill in the blanks. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, maybe he wanted the reader to, bring this ancient being to life with their own version of what it could be. But no, I think he just didn't know what it was, and so I couldn't imagine it. It wasn't realized on the page, and so it made it really frustrating for me at the end, and I just really didn't like it, unfortunately. The second book is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This is my first book I've read by Alice Feeney, and going off this, I likely won't read anymore because all anyone ever talks about are her twists. And if this is anything to go off, then that's enough for me not to read anymore. Because the twist was the issue. One, also, it took me like 8 hours to read 90 pages of this book. But then it picked up from like page 100 to 200. I was in it. I was ready to find out the mystery of how this guy's wife disappeared the year before while he was on the phone to her, and what the hell was going on in this remote island that only 25 residents were at. And like they were all really weird, acting strange. There was unanswered questions. Like it was so intriguing as a concept, but it was not good. And the plot twist came, and I just like groaned, and I just felt like it was in there just for the sake of being a plot twist so that she could look clever, and it didn't actually serve a purpose. And it didn't make sense. It just made me go, plot holes, plot holes. I had to rant to my husband for like 20 minutes after putting it down because it infuriated me so much. I'm getting all hot and flustered just talking about it. The mystery and the intrigue didn't make up for how this ended. I didn't like how it ended with him. There's some other stuff at the end that I can't talk about without spoiling it. And that just was like, oh, it was so lame. I really didn't enjoy it. So this is another worst book for me of this year. A new release I haven't read yet, but I want to, is Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. I'm sure if you're a thriller girly, you've seen this everywhere. I even have it downloaded on my Kindle already, ready to read. Another one is Polybius by Colin Armstrong. Don't know much about this other than like this arcade game comes to town and creates like a disease. And I'm a sucker for like a vintage 80s nostalgia looking cover, which this delivers. Wouldn't you agree? Leading on from that question is the most anticipated release for the second half of 2025. I'm not someone who follows the new release calendar or anything. I just find a book, I like it, and I get it. But when I did look for one, I found this, and I'm keen. It's called An Evil Premise by T. Marie Vendely. I didn't know she was releasing another book, and I read theme music a couple of years ago and thoroughly enjoyed it, so I'm keen to pick this one up in the second half of this year. Next is the biggest disappointment so far this year. And to me, this is different to like the worst book. And so I have gone with Curse of the Reaper by Brian McCauley. This I should have loved. I was so excited to read it. And I didn't give it a bad rating. I rated it over 3 stars still. And it's following an aged actor who originated the role of the Reaper in the Curse of the Reaper slasher franchise films. And he is haunted by the character he starred as. And so it's him, like, he doesn't act anymore. He wanted to be like this amazing, meaningful actor, and he couldn't really get the work after this. And so he's doing conventions and signings still. But then it's announced that like they're going to remake the first film, but they're not going to cast him, and they've cast like some 20-something-year-old dude. That's when it all unfolds, and he becomes like almost possessed by the Reaper. So we've got some chapters that are excerpts from the franchise, like the grisly kill scene. So you get that slash aspect. But we're also seeing like the downfall of Howard, our main character, his mental stability. I love, like, it's so clever. Like, there was so much I should have loved. And it just fell flat, just didn't quite hit the mark for me. It was still an enjoyable read, but it actually took me like 2 weeks to finish this little book, and I don't really know why. The writing was fine, the concept was great, but it just, something missing, you know what? So it's like, it just makes me go, I'm disappointed, but I didn't hate it, if you know what I mean? Okay. Next is the biggest surprise of this year so far. Hands down, that is I Kill Killers by S.T. Ashman. I found this just by browsing Kindle Unlimited one night. I think I must have been on there for an hour or two. I came across this. It sounded like a bit of rompy, cheesy fun. What hooked me in was the character, the main character. She is a world-renowned classical pianist by day. She is the best in the world, basically. No one beats her, no one ever has, no one ever will. But by night, she's a serial killer. But she's a serial killer of serial killers. So she kills the bad guys who think they've gotten away with what they did. And so the opening scene is literally a torture scene, basically. Her tricking some guy who was a rapist and murderer into the woods, and she tortures and kills him, but then she goes off to the theatre to perform in the symphony. It's so good. But we also have the FBI police procedural aspect of it as well. So we're following Liam Richter, special agent, in this, and he is the one who goes to the scene that we first see in the first chapter. He puts the pieces together pretty quickly and links it to her, and then it's this cat and mouse game, basically. There's a really fun twist as well, and then the last chapter, maybe two, just gave me goosebumps. I don't know, she put something in there. She laced this book with something. It was so good. I've downloaded the next two in the series, following these characters again for obvious reasons. If you've read it, I'm very excited. This was a 4.5-star read for me. And something that also solidified that for me, and I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but was realizing that the author is a woman, not a man. Because some of these scenes I was going, ugh, if this was written by a dude, then it felt kind of grotesque. But by a woman, I was like, go bitch, go. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so this was a surprise for me. A little bit different now is best audiobook. And this was easy. Hands down, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book. I have to say, if I'm suggesting this and recommending it, it has to be on audiobook. The narrator, I think his name is Ray Porter, absolutely phenomenal as an actor. Like, he made me want to be an audiobook narrator. That's how good this is. He is able to add so much depth and nuance to every single character. His accents were amazing. He really makes you care for every single person in this, but he also just put a lot of humor and sarcasm in there that, like, it wouldn't have been funny if I was reading it physically. So he's the reason I kept going, I think. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. Someone who's not a maths or science person, like, I was worried I'd give up, but I think I stayed in it for this narrator. You've probably heard about it, but story of like friendship, unexpected friendships, and honor and letting go of things, and it was so powerful and beautiful. And if you know, you know. My heart swells and hurts when I think about this book, but I just loved it so much. And a lot of that has to go to Ray as an audiobook actor. Like, this wasn't just narrating, this was a performance on all fronts, like, absolutely phenomenal. This will be my top pick as an audiobook recommendation, I reckon, for this whole year. Favorite new author? I don't really have like a standout. Obviously, S.T. Ashman. I want to read the next two in her series. Another person I've discovered is Caleb Stevens. I read The Girls in the Cabin. This was a 4-star read for me. It was very fast, very dark, and there was a lot to enjoy in that. So I do want to read more of his books, but I'm all going to go with Jason Allen Patterson. I just read this book called Fulcrum, And his writing and the prose is so unique in a horror. It was beautiful. There was and languid, like it was so lyrical. And there was some of the sentences I was going, how did you write this? Like, how did you think to string these words together? So I was really invested. And also like the setting of this was like an abandoned strip mall where a guy orders a pizza one night, gets it delivered, and then the next day when he's talking to his nephew and his friend, this old man discovers that the guy he ordered the pizza from died a year ago, and it because his son had died while delivering pizzas. It's so spooky. There's a lot going on in this book. There's even like one chapter in it that's 260 pages long, so it's like a book within a book. And the link between all the characters and their stories and how they're all connected to this one pizza shop, like it's so clever. But the writing is what kept me in it. Like that 260-page chapter like flew. I was in it for the long haul, and I would love to read more of Jason Allen Patterson's writing after this one. We are nearing the end, friends. So if you're still here, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I know I've been yapping to you for quite a while. Next question is newest fave character. And I'm going to go with Judas Coin from Heart Shaped Box. I think he is the definition of an anti-hero. You know, he's a retired rock god, you know. He's like in his 50s and he has this like bravado, like he's a dickhead and a womanizer and he's arrogant, blah blah. He wears like leather and boots and Doc Martens, you know, like he's that kind of guy. He has young girlfriends but he was so cool as well. And he had so much heart to him in the end. So I just think, like I said, he's an anti-hero. I also enjoyed his relationships with the women in his life. Like they gave as good as they got with this guy. And I love a man too who can just take it, you know. he quite enjoys when they bite back at him. So he was just really cool. And I loved like his niche. He is a collector of the macabre in his retirement. So he has like a snuff film and like a witch's cookbook from hundreds of years ago. And he stumbles across a woman selling a ghost. And it turns up on his door in a black heart-shaped box, and it's a suit. And as soon as he pulls this suit out, like everything changes. And it jumps straight into the action. You don't have to wait for anything in this book. And it is so fast-paced right to the bitter end. But he remains a great character from start to finish. Solid through and through. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Every book on the shelf is beautiful. But the one I'm going to go with is slightly different. It's called The Empress Murders. This is an Australian crime mystery. But the reason I'm picking this up is because I find it quite a different cover. It's what made me buy in the first place. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't really have to. I like that the writing kind of symbolizes the ship on the ocean. I love the colors. I love the font. I was drawn to it, and I think you are too. Like, let's be honest, it looks so good. It's just about people on board a ship being picked off one by one. You know, a classic mystery. So I'm very excited about it. But yeah, this cover quite unique, and I really like it. Final one is books you need to read before the end of the year, and I do have a few here. One of my main ones is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I am currently 19% of the way through. This one was one I started in January, and I just pledged to myself that I've got to read it before the end of the year, and that's it. So I can just pick it up when I feel like reading a little bit more. I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far, though. Another one is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier and Dracula by Bram Stoker. I am trying to read some, gothic classic literature amongst all my modern horror as well. House of Leaves is another one I'm quite intimidated by, but I do want to tick off my TBR this year. I've got it sitting on my shelf behind me, staring at me every day. Thank you so much for watching my media reading wrap up. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to subscribe and like if you think we have similar tastes. And if you have any 5-star reads from your journey so far this year, please drop them below. I'm always looking for more recommendations. And just on a final note, I wanted to say that if you are a slower or just consistent reader like me, then you are in a safe space here. I think books are patient, and they'll be waiting for you for when you're in the mood to read them. So never pressure yourself, because you are a reader, whether you read 1 book a year or 100. And they'll be ready for you whenever you feel like reading them at any point. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on these sorts of videos, because it can be easy to compare and worry that you're falling behind. But don't worry, with me, we're all readers here. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!